Welcome back to another episode of Scryer's Room. I am your host, Famfare.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mario.
And today we're going to dive back into the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah, so covered the first two main entries and then the two side games, Elder Scrolls Adventure games, and then now I'm going to try to get through Morrowind all the way up to the most recent release game, which is Elder Scrolls Online.
Right.
But before I talk about Morrowind, it was like 2014, you know.
Yeah, real recent.
God bless.
By Bethesda standards? Yeah. Modern Bethesda anyway. But to start off, before I go into Morrowind, just to make things easier for everyone, and mostly myself, I need to do a lore dump.
Right.
To cover some bases.
Yeah, give
some stuff that everyone
context.
needs to know before we even get to the storyline.
Yeah,
and why the storyline could function.
When you play the game, some of this is explained to you, but it'll just be easier if I just get it out of the way, so I don't have to stop when I'm actually explaining the events of the game. So, in the Elder Scrolls universe, there are gods, the Aedra and the Daedra, they're usually referred to as. Importantly, though, every culture, every race has their own interpretation, usually, of these gods.
Right, so each of them has, 9 names.
Yeah. It gets really confusing, because technically they're all correct.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole thing. It's really weird. Typically, the Daedra don't have this issue. They're usually the same, or at least are basically the same. Like Sheogorath, rather, is the Daedric Prince of Madness. He's a fan favorite.
Right.
Virtually the same thing in all cultures, except for the Khajiit. He's exactly the same, except he's a cat, and he's the skooma cat.
I don't know what I was guessing. I don't know what I was thinking.
So stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Daedra, mostly the same. Sometimes they're a little bit different or get mashed together. But the gods usually are interpreted differently.
I can't get over that, actually. I'm thinking about that's who I am with everybody else. But when I'm with my boys, I'm the skooma cat.
So all the Khajiit, the Khajiit interpret basically every deity as being a cat in some way. It's kind of funny.
Well, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, a bunch of cool cats.
Also, they have my favorite afterlife, which is
ball yarn.
I forget what it's. I forget what it's called exactly, but it's basically like a desert made of cocaine.
They call that the Dune franchise.
Because so moon sugar is huge to Khajiit culture,
and I don't know what I was expecting.
Moon sugar is what you refine into skooma, which is the Elder Scrolls drug of choice. And then, but to Khajiit, it's more like a regular thing.
Right.
Moon sugar, not skooma. Skooma's still a drug.
Yeah.
But moon sugar doesn't affect them as much.
Right, but they're like the Fremen. They're used to the spice in all of their lives.
And that's their heaven, is just cocaine everywhere, basically. Anyway, off topic. But so
Frank Herbert could never. He in all of his things, he's like, and then if you ascend to enlightenment, you don't need the cocaine anymore. No, all the cocaine. That's what real heaven is.
Yeah, forever.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Anyway,
these cats know how to die.
So, all that was to say that the most common explanation you see or hear is the Elven one.
Right.
Which is the baseline Elven.
Because the elves run shit. They always run shit.
But specifically the Altmer, which are the High Elves, because they claim that they preserve the traditions of the Aldmer, which is basically the common ancestor of most of the elves.
Right.
So this is the one you hear the most, and that's the one that's most relevant to Morrowind. And then you'll see it referenced usually on lore and videos and shit. Right. So, in the beginning, there was no universe. There was 2 forces, Anu and Padmai.
Which one was the cat?
That
that was a bit. He actually looked contemplative for a moment there.
That was good.
Because the Khajiit version's a little different. Anyway, but Anu is they're just fundamental forces. They're not like gods, actually. They're more of, they just are. And so Anu is stasis and Padmai is chaos. And
good opposed forces.
They're basically yin and yang type deal. They are opposed, but they're not fighting each other.
They're not antagonistic.
Yeah, they don't have that.
Right.
But as a result of them mixing, basically, eventually what ended up happening is Anu whether intentionally or not, it's kind of vague, created himself, they called it, in the story, it's his soul, which is Anwiel, who, this is like, now it's starting to take on aspects of like a personality.
Right,
and
starting to develop an ego.
Yeah, its sphere has like expanded a bit. And then Padamai responds by doing the same thing, and that creates Sithis, which, if you've played Elder Scrolls, that name might sound familiar. But Sithis is now the same thing. That's Padamai's soul.
It sounds pretty familiar to the Lucasfilm lawyers too, I bet. I mean,
and then from there, so now they can almost have a personality, and they do it again. So now Anwiel creates himself a soul, and then Sithis creates a soul, and then these are the first two gods.
Right.
And that's Auriel and Lorkhan. And so now these are like proper deities.
Right.
Like they have...
But really they're dudes that are the result of like a chemical reaction between the natural forces of the universe.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is Auriel creates time. Like, he's the time god. And then, so that gives basically substance. Like, other spirits can now form.
Right.
And then Lorkhan, like, together, basically, their combination of all of that, like, creates what's called the Orbis, which is the universe. And then the Orbis is comprised of, on the outside, you have Aetherius, that is, like, the realm of gods, that's the realm of magic. Below that is Oblivion, which is just the chaos, basically, realm.
Right.
And then...
It's that place that Nightcrawler teleports through.
So this is where things get interesting, is... People interpret, the different races interpret what happens next differently, but the Elven version is that Lorkhan then tricked the other gods into creating the final layer, Mundus, which is the material world.
Right.
And so they say it's a trick because he convinced them to help him do that, but he didn't tell them that in doing so they were forfeiting most of their power, and then they became the foundation of that realm. So
Gotcha.
yeah, well,
He bound a lot of deities to this.
the men will say that no, they did it willingly,
Right,
together, and yeah.
Out of a common understanding of goodness, which obviously would lead to us and our society existing right now.
Yeah, but
Certainly a trick didn't lead to this.
the Elven version is that no, he tricked them, and then as a result, right before basically it was solidified, and then like who was going to lose power lost power. The god Magnus, who's the god of magic, realized what was going on because he was called the Architect, and he helped really build the Mundus. He figured out what was happening, and then he fucking booked it. He fled into Aetherius, and his children, the Magna Gi, followed him. And what that did was create tears in reality, and that's the sun and the stars.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they're not big balls of plasma. They're holes in the universe where magic is leaking through, and that's what the light is.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Probably a lot less skin cancer that way.
And from there, the gods basically got together. They created a giant adamantine tower. It's known as the first tower, Adamantia. And they basically put him on trial, put Lorkhan on trial. And it was...
Send his ass to jail.
like, kill his ass.
Oh.
As much as, like, a god can die.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I was wondering because the Heart of Lorkhan is a thing in the later games.
That's the next point. So, Auriel's champion, Trinimac, who's the warrior god, basically,
Right.
tears out Lorkhan's heart, and then Auriel straps it to his bow, shoots it across the land. And so Lorkhan is dead now.
Yeah,
like air quotes. And then another little bit. This is also debated if this actually happened or not, but this is the Elven version of it, or the one you hear the most. As the heart was sailing across the land, a droplet fell off and fell in an Ayleid well, which is that's a type of elf. Then there were wells collected starlight, which is just basically pure magic. It fell in there, and then that became what was called the Kim El Adabal, aka the stone that would be inside the Amulet of Kings.
Oh.
But maybe that happened, maybe it didn't. Who knows? Whatever. The Kim El Adipal is real though. But then, as Lorkhan's heart landed in what would become Red Mountain, which is the giant volcano in Morrowind.
Only barely more creative than Mount Doom.
It's it's kind of cool. It's like buried deep in there, and then the mountain rose out of that, and then the basically magma that came out of there and flowed out, and then basically
It's all infused with heart juices and shit.
It suffused the land, and it's the blood of a god.
Yeah.
And then it calcified, and that's what ebony is.
So one of the only so in the Elder Scrolls series, you can like pick up books and stuff, and like they have like actual like literature in them.
Right.
They're not super long, but they have some of them are pretty hefty. And one of the only books I read in Skyrim was the Red Mountain one, and that was fucking cool. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about this.
So then, that's the baseline story, right? Like that's most of what I needed to say. And then, other than a side note of Trinamac gets. All right, I did skip over a little bit. So the Aedra are the ones who helped, right, build the world, and then they're basically now comatose,
right?
Because they formed the foundation of the Mundus, the physical world, like Nirn, which is the planet, and then the Daedra are the ones who didn't. So they're still just full power, chilling, like in Oblivion. And then the only there's really no difference between the two. Aedra just means in Elvish our ancestors, and Daedra means not our ancestors. Because elves they believe they're descended from them, which they are. It's the whole thing. They're like lesser spirits that then were stuck in the Mundus, and then basically became mortals because they didn't have a choice.
It's the cousins on the other side of the family that's like, yeah, technically it's my stepdad's kids or something.
Well,
we're not related, but they're the same kind of thing. We're all just little hellions.
Elves view it as, because of Lorkhan's betrayal, we are no longer divine. Like, mortality is a curse.
Sure is.
Men have the reverse view of it, whereas, like, no, this was a blessing given to us by... They would call it... They refer to him as either Shor for the Nords or Shizar for like needy people, or the later Imperials.
The cat's pajamas, if you could eat.
They believe, that this is a gift. But that was just to explain the difference between Aedra and Daedra. There's the minor spirits, the Elnifei, all that stuff. But Smash Cut, they've now split off and become a bunch of different groups. And one group is called the Chimer. They're basically high elves that just moved away, and they follow what they call the three good Daedra, Azura, Boethia, and Mephala.
Real heavy implication on what that means for the other Daedra, because there's not three.
Well, they still worship the other, like, elven gods, but those are the three good...
Yeah, it's saying that the other Daedra are explicitly not good.
No, they have the four corners of the House of Troubles, which is Sheogorath, Molag Bal, Sanguine, and who am I missing? Trinamac, or who became Malakath.
And Molag Bal is like the bane of this.
He's just like Satan, basically.
He's the worst one.
My whole thing is I'm the worst.
Right.
Okay.
The other ones are named after like Cthulhu monsters. Yeah, some and are the concept of blood, and
all of them can be bad, but Molag Bal's whole shtick is that he's just bad. The worst.
Is his the cult that took over the Empire for a while, and that's what ESO's about?
That is what ESO's about. They didn't they kind of took over the whole thing. Okay. I'll get into that later. But so they moved off and they settled what was Resdane, which later became Morrowind.
Yeah.
They forged an alliance with the Dwemer, the dwarves. Those are they're basically super advanced race of elves. But shit hit the fan way down the line, and they went to war over this thing called the Numidium, which you may remember from the last episode.
Right.
The dwarves are building a giant robot god.
Yeah.
Because they found the heart of Lorkhan.
Of the Gundam.
And then the Chimer were like, you can't do that. They're just like, well, we are.
What are we going to do about it?
And so they went to war over it. The Chimer even brought in, got help, the dwarves got help from the Nords, one of the two. I forget exactly, but there was a huge fight on Red Mountain. This is where they were building the.
I want to say that the Dwemer, the Nords were helping the Dwemer because that's one of the reasons the Nords still don't like.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're being led by Wolfarth, who I also mentioned in a thing. He's a demigod guy, and his whole thing is he hates Chimer.
Yeah.
Like, fuck those guys. Like, he wants to just kill them all.
Continuing my comparison of Lord of the Rings Mount Doom to Red Mountain, if the One Ring was actually the ignition for a Gundam, I don't know. I think those would be a lot better movies.
It's pretty metal.
Yeah.
But
it turns you invisible. What if it turns on the Gundam?
But because the Chimer were led by this Ultra Chad Induril Nerevar, who was the Hortator, which basically is he's the military leader.
Okay.
He's the commander in chief.
Gotcha.
He's not like the leader, like he's not like the king of them or anything.
Right, but he's in charge of the armies.
Yeah. And then he's the dopest dude, chosen of Azura. He beats their ass basically, and then in a panic, the head, what's called the tonal architect, Kagnarak, uses the tools he had designed to siphon the power of the heart of Lorkhan and activates the heart. And then all the Dwemer disappear.
Just zoop, just out of there?
They're gone. No one knows what happened to them. They disappeared.
There's a few theories I've heard.
Yes. The most prominent one being that it's this whole thing, Kim, is about basically achieving enlightenment, and you either do that and become a god, or you can't handle that you don't actually exist, because everything I said about the gods turns out, oh, well, actually everything's a dream of super uber mega god who's the godhead.
Right.
And once you realize you're just in a dream of a being, you either can accept that and be like, no, look at me.
Right.
I exist. Or you're too rational and go, oh, fuck, I don't exist, and you're gone. And people think that's what happened to the Dwemer.
You either understand Inception and get powers, or you don't.
Yeah, because they were rationalists and they were atheists. Atheists not in the sense that they didn't believe in the gods. They just didn't think they should be worshipped.
Right.
So that's the thing, is as a species, they think they couldn't... fans think they couldn't rationalize their own non-existence, and just... they're gone.
They nulled out.
Called zero-summed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Who knows? But... turns out also, when you bang on the heart and use its energies, Dragon Break, which is time is now fucked.
Right. This is like in the inception point
timelines.
for multiverse shit.
Yes. And then once time slurps back together, nobody knows what happened, because everything everyone experienced and remembers, that happened. So what actually happened on Red Mountain? Who can say?
It was crazy.
Yeah, you have to take everyone's word for it.
We learned an important lesson. Don't try to make a giant Gundam powered by the heart of a disgraced god.
But
the Dragon Break concepts and like the time sharing concepts in the Elder Scrolls lore are a very interesting angle, because like it's almost like the antithesis of retconning. It's like, fuck you, all that happened. Mm-hmm. Eat shit. Like, but what about this one guy said that happened too?
The Akira Toriyama defense.
Yeah.
It's a neat little like narrative thing, and it's the main purpose of it is just like, what happened in your playthrough? Okay, that happened.
Yeah, it's canon.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's fun.
I thought it was weird you were naked the whole time, but you did make it canon.
Anytime you can fold in game mechanics into your like actual like settings lore, that's super fun. Like, there's one that's going to come up in Morrowind that I'm really excited to gush about, so hopefully we get to that pretty soon.
Yeah. But what was established that like actually happened is that Induril Nerevar is now dead.
Right.
The Tribunal, who became it's Vivek, Almalexia, and Sothasil. They were his right hand people. Also, along with this guy Dagoth, Voron Dagoth. He's dead too. And then, according to the Tribunal, he tried to steal the tools and use it on the heart to get all the power, and then he killed Nerevar.
Oh.
Which is that what happened? Who knows? But now they got it. They took the tools. Sothasil is...
I only killed him in, 5 realities? It hardly seems fair to... No, you're out of here. You're fired.
You know, who knows? But
means you would have.
Sothasil was such a dope mage. He figured out how to make it work. He perfected the tools. Bing bang boom, he used them on the heart, and then they have god powers now. Congrats. And
high fives all around.
Yeah, they're now the living gods of Morrowind. And then Azura shows up, and it's like, you can't do that.
Right.
You're not gods. And they're just like, actually, I think we are.
We sure have the power of gods.
What a flex.
Yeah, no, they basically tell her, like, bitch, like, we don't need you anymore. Like, look at us. Like, we're the future over here.
Oh, man. Base.
And then she's like, oh, okay. Because one thing about Azura, she's the Daedric Prince. One of her aspects is egotism and vanity. And so she's just like, oh, yeah? Okay, well, I curse your entire people. And that's why they used to be golden skinned, like the Altmer. Oh. And this is why Dunmer, this is when they become the Dunmer. And now they have ashen skin and red eyes.
Oh.
And that's the curse. It's just like, and now everyone knows that, like, you betrayed, like, your gods, you fucked up.
Yep.
And Indral Nerevar, like, I know what you did, basically.
Yeah.
They're just like, you don't know.
A lot of things happened. It was a dragon break.
To the end, just deny.
But because they're living gods now, Almalexia just outright didn't get. She's like, I'm not getting cursed.
Yeah.
So she's still golden. And then Vivek was like, I'm half and half, because that's his whole thing is duality.
Right.
So that's why he split down the middle. And then Sothasil is the one who's like,
beans.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Like, okay,
Feels
I'll take the curse, like, in solidarity with the people. Like. And so that's why they're all different.
I've always thought of myself as more of a man of the people style god.
Yeah, and then they become the living gods. They take over. They rule for thousands of years. It's a whole thing. And one day they go back. They have to renew their energies every now and then.
They go back to the Green Lantern battery.
Yes. And, oh shit, is that Dagoth? And, yeah, Dagoth is back. And he's just like, sup, bitches. Like, it's mine now. And he somehow has a connection with the heart of Lorkhan. It's unclear how this happened, but it happened.
He forged it.
And he's returned, and now he is just full on, like, god powers and insane. He's convinced that he is going to be the one true god. And he straight up just, like, banishes them from the mountain, and they can't renew their energies. Oh. So they're now bleeding, like, god juice, like, very slowly.
Yeah.
But
They're working on a timeline now, yeah.
And they don't know how to stop him. Like,
right.
They got some ideas, but mainly they just basically set up a fence. It's literally called the Ghost Fence around Red Mountain, and they're just like, that'll hopefully give us some time to figure out what to do. And it kind of works. Like, it keeps him in there, sort of. But his whole thing is he sends out the divine disease, Corporus, which is just horrible. Like, it infects everything.
Divine disease is not a...
Yeah. No, this is his big plan, is everyone's going to be connected through the Corporus and become part of me. And we're going to become a Gestalt. And then that way, I'll lift the entire Dunmer people into divinity. Through me, of course. Right. I'll be at the center.
But mainly me.
Yeah. And then what Corporus does is, when it infects someone, it makes you basically immortal. Like, you stop aging.
Pretty good disease so far.
You get, like, boosted, like, physical stats, but you start to, like, you mutate, basically. You start to get
it's X-Man disease.
Yeah, that's why if you've ever seen the models for Dagoth and the dudes he's got, and they're doing the weird, like,
they're
snaky motions.
Yeah.
And they got super long arms and legs. It's because Corporus. That's what it does to you.
Oh.
And usually you lose your mind and you're just a monster now. Or you're an ash zombie.
Right.
But sometimes you're extra dope or you're, like, chosen by Dagoth and you become a higher level being. You maintain your intelligence.
He gives you the good.
Yeah, you become an ash vampire or an ascended sleeper. It's a whole thing. And then so this is just happening. This has been going on for a long, long time. They don't know how to stop his ass.
Right.
Smash cut the beginning of Morrowind.
Oh yeah.
You're some schmuck.
You're some asshole.
Yeah, on a prison ship.
The prisoner.
You get woken up by fan favorite Jube. He's the dark elf with a huge like scar over his eye. Later becomes Saint Jube. I'll get into that when I talk about Skyrim. So that's where you start out. Is you're just a prisoner, and it's just like, well, we made it to Morrowind. Like, we're here. You get off the boat, and then you're taken to like Imperial officers, and they're just like, by order of the Emperor, you are to be set free. Like, okay.
Welcome to Australia? Is that
basically. And then they give you like some money, and then also like an encrypted letter, and it's just like, you're to deliver this.
That'd be great if the immigration offices gave you your first quest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's on the island of Vardenfell. That's where you are. That's another thing, is Vardenfell is just one island.
Right.
And that's basically the entire map.
Oh.
Wow.
That's not all of Morrowind. It's a piece of Morrowind. I just thought that was a fun little, little tidbit. You have to deliver this message to Caius Cusades, I think is how you say that, in the town of Balmora. And then when you get there, he reads the letter, and he's just like, okay. I'm going to induct you into the Blades. Like, you've been sent here by the Emperor himself.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're to be an agent of the Blade. And you're just like, okay.
And this is as far as I've gotten in the game. I tried playing Morrowind when I was visiting my cousin, and it's just too old for me, man. It's such a rock MMO at this point.
It's very different, very dated.
Not an accurate use of that term, but it's definitely blocky and clunky and interesting.
I can't explain.
Some people very selfishly got their way in designing this game.
But it was revolutionary for the time.
Yeah.
Rob could explain it to you so much better than I could. He's more of an expert on the game itself.
The directional combat stuff was new, right? Am I correct on this?
What do you mean?
So, like, if you are wielding, like, a halberd and it does thrusting damage. If you're moving forward, you thrust with it and you poke. But if you're moving to the side, you sweep with it and it will do less damage. Like, there was, like, directional damage in Morrowind.
Maybe? All I know is that, like, everything is tied to your fatigue for some reason.
And stamina or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my rock MMO, there would be a juggling mechanic similar to Devil May Cry.
And heavy armor does weigh you down, and you can move very, very slow. You move very, very slow.
Yeah, and so he inducts you into the Blades. Also, a little side note, this is the first time you can play an orc. Because after the event...
They just got rights, yeah.
They're people now. And then
great job.
This is also the first time...
civil rights victory of being a playable race.
Civil rights, I love it.
One of the unsung victories.
Love to hear it.
And then also Imperials show up as a playable race for the first time, too.
Because you're from the Empire proper.
Every civil rights victory does come, unfortunately, with some concessions.
So...
we move forward together.
Your job is... He's like, I need you to go ask around and get information on what's called the six house cults and the Nerevarine prophecies. And you're just like,
Killer, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And so what those are, the sixth house is the House of Dagoth, which no longer exists. So there's the great houses of Morrowind, which I'll rattle off real quickly. House Hlalu,
Sorry.
who are like the opportunistic like merchants, and they're less xenophobic. Like Dunmer tend to be xenophobic, and they're more willing to just like, if it makes them money, like they don't really care.
Right.
Like they'll work with other.
The sweet nectar
peoples.
of capitalism has opened their eyes.
They just want that gold. House Redoran, they're conservative basically, and they value like piety and are devout followers of the tribunal, like because there's the tribunal temple.
Right.
That's their national religion now. And then they're the de facto military. So most of the like guards you see walking around, they're Redoran. Then there's House Telvanni, who are the wizards, and their whole thing is leave me alone. I built this tower so that you can't reach me. They live in giant mushroom towers.
Based.
And that's their whole thing. And then their thing is, whole worldview is that magical might makes right.
Right.
Like, unless you're a better wizard than me, shut the hell up. You can't tell me what to do.
So based.
Yeah, it's like, if you can, though, if you show up to another wizard's tower and you can just take his ass and kill him, take his stuff. All the other ones are going to be like, you're right.
Walk through his house like a rapper that's disrespecting you, just like eating your food off your plate like, your wife cooks like shit. Like,
but typically they don't do that. They don't fight. They mostly, and they're actually pretty good at governing. Like, they're pretty chill. Like, just leave me alone. Like, and everything will be fine. And then it usually is. Like, yeah, don't bother the scary wizards, and nothing bad happens to you. Then there's House Indoril, and they're... I wrote them as clergymen that mostly simp for the Tribunal Temple, and that's basically what they are.
Oh, the living gods are the best.
They hold most of like the influence within the church. And that's their like whole shtick, which is ironic, considering
the other guys.
Yeah, Indoril Nerevar like probably was killed by the Tribunal. So that's a bit of irony there, because the Tribunal set it up that like he's a great hero,
right?
And then like he sacrificed himself, blah 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 blah.
Being murdered is a tremendous sacrifice.
Yeah, so they're like super into it. Like they take a lot of pride in that,
right?
Which is irony upon irony. There's House Dress, and they're just traditionalists and slavers.
That's traditional.
That's basically it. They own the plantation.
They're dicks. Yeah.
They're the assholes who steal all the Khajiit and Argonians.
Damn.
Yeah. And they sell them to the other houses too, of course.
Right.
And then House Dagoth, which was branded as traitors and destroyed and basically scrubbed from history. But now these cults are popping up about that. And mostly, and they're tied to the Corpus disease. Because that whole thing, we're connected by hive mind and all that. Like, Dagoth starts appearing to people in their dreams.
Yeah. And
indoctrinating them, basically. Like...
That's the point of spreading your hive mind virus, yeah.
Yep, so that's what the cults are, and it's a big problem. Then the Nerevarine prophecies are, after the Tribunal were like, fuck you, bitch, like, we're in charge now. Her other thing is prophecy, so she creates a prophecy that, like, this is gonna fuck you over in the end. Indoril Nerevar will return as my champion, and then he's gonna fix this, and then, like, you're gonna lose everything. Peace. And then after a few thousand years, here we are. And you have to you're researching that. Like, so you're gathering more and more information. And you start finding out about basically everything I've said. Is you start piecing together that, the Tribunal had something to do, like Red Mountain was really suspicious. This guy Dagoth, like, what's up with him? He comes up in these little tidbits. This cult seems to be real convinced that he's back.
I like
he's in charge.
That this is the wizard equivalent of uncovering Iran-Contra. Like, I think that the government might have done a big conspiracy.
God bless.
So yeah, and that's pretty much...
But with the gods.
The early game is you're constantly running back and forth to give the guy the information you got.
Right.
He sends you back out, get more information, come back again, until eventually he's like, okay, you've gathered enough information. I'm convinced at this point, and I can tell you now. The Emperor sent you here on purpose because he's got this whole thing where he's real in tune to prophecies and foresight. He's mystical and all that. Right. And then he thinks you might fulfill the Nerevarine prophecies. So that's why you're here.
To facilitate?
To become the Nerevarine.
Excellent.
Which is crafty, because the Emperor sent you, and then immediately he's instructed someone else to induct you into the Blades. You are now an agent of the Emperor.
That's right, you work for us.
Yeah, you work for the Empire now.
I'm pretty sure that you're going to be a very good investment, judging from my prophecy.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, damn, okay, how do I find out if I'm the Nerevarine?
Yeah.
And then...
Is it a blood test?
You have to get in good with the Ashlanders, who are the Dunmer who reject society, basically. Like, they want to go back to, like, the more nomadic kind of ways, and then, like, the old traditions. Like, they're not as cool with the Tribunal. They want to still worship, like, the good Daedra and all that.
Right.
Like, which is not looked well upon in Dunmer society nowadays.
I'm picturing hippie drows.
They're a little bit more metal than that. They're like...
Ooh, anarchist drows.
They're more like... like your standard like nomadic type people, but because it's Morrowind, it's fucking weird. And instead of like furs and pelts and stuff, it's insect carapace because they have giant insects.
The chitin armor.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty sick.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah, and they make like armor and shit out of it too. Like it's really cool.
Probably not very warm, but
one of the main sources of food are like grubs, right? Like these, I remember one of the first quests is you have to go to like the larva farms.
They like farm this like giant insect. I forget what it's called. But yeah, that's like their standard like cattle, and then their standard mode of transportation is the silt riders. Big old, they look like giant fleas, basically.
All I'm
That's your
picturing
fast travel mechanic.
is the Bugalo from Futurama. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, basically,
Pretty much.
Basically Buggalos. Yeah. One of the first quests is to go into the Bugalo pit to get their larvae or something.
So you then have to gain acceptance into the Urshilaku Ashlanders to ask about the prophecies. Which, side note, if I mispronounce anything, or if anyone's going to be nitpicky about how I pronounce things, get over it. I'm doing my best. All right. I know some of these I can say with confidence, but
it's all made up anyway, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Like,
anyway, that was just
that's extremely ignorant opinion.
But you have to pass the initiation rites, so you can speak with the wise woman, Nibani Mesa, so she can confirm if you're the Nerevarine or not. So you do all these little tasks basically to become part of like be cool with you're a friend of the tribe now.
It's so involved that it leads me to believe that they have had to create a vetting process, because it used to be all the time someone would be like, hey, I think I might be the Nerevarine. Is the wise woman here? And she's like, I have other things I need to do in my day. We need to create some tests. He has to become friends with you guys first.
Yeah. Which is an achievement if you're like one of the weirder races, you know?
Right.
Like if you're like a Khajiit and they accept you, like that's pretty dope. Like you're a pretty dope Khajiit.
Yeah.
You did that.
You're one cool cat.
But you...
Wait, so you can be a Khajiit in this?
Yeah.
Are you like... Are they, can you be an Argonian?
Mm-hmm.
Are they like all hunched over and weird?
They're more beastly, yeah. You can't wear boots on either of them, because their feet are all like...
So you're like...
Claws.
All Digi-Tigrade leg having ass if you play as one?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's annoying because you lose an item slot basically, but it's cool to be a beast man. But you pass all the trials and then you talk to her, and then she says you're able to become the Nerevarine. You're not the Nerevarine yet. You got to do more. But you've got what it takes, kid.
I didn't realize this was a Super Saiyan situation. I was under the impression this was more of a karmic reincarnation situation.
It's like you have to do all the stuff before you get the official stamp of I'm the Nerevarine.
Not just some garden variety demigod.
Then you go back to the Caius, and then he sends you off. Like there's a 6-house cult base. You got to go take care of that. And then their leader is an unique ash vampire, Dagoth Garrus. He gives the classic "Join us" speech, and you're like, no, and you kill him.
Right.
Get fucked.
But as he dies, he curses you with Corpus.
Oh.
As he does the classic, you think you've won, and then divine disease on your ass.
I'm surprised that it wasn't already a reveal that you had at this point.
Yeah, right.
And you go back to the Imperial guy, and he's basically like, "Oh shit, that's bad." I only know like maybe of one guy who could possibly help you, and his name is Diabate Fear. He's one of the top Telvanni mages. He's been studying the divine disease to try to find a cure. So he's got like a whole laboratory set up. It's called the Corpusarium in his mushroom tower. It's just full of zombies, basically. And so you go there, and then you try to convince him to, like, help me, please. Like, I've heard you're working on a cure. Like, let's see if it works. which you have to get something for him first. He's like, okay, I'll try to help you. But, so, go get me an item real quick, though. Go down to the Corpusarium and talk with Yagam Bagarn. And he'll give you the item, you come back, you give it to me. So you do that. Yagam Bagarn is the last living Dwemer.
Oh, wow, okay.
So he was in a outer plane at the time and just missed the Poofin spell.
Oh, man.
And he came back, and his entire civilization is non-existent now. And
they all got raptured.
He's like...
And you were in the bathroom.
Yeah, he's like, what happened?
Oh, man.
That's a good analogy.
He's like, how did that happen? And then...
Did they turn on the... They turned on the Gundam, right?
He's not sure. He's like, ah.
No one's around to tell me.
And then he contracted Corpus.
Oh, poor guy.
And yeah,
will this epidemic not stop taking?
So he then had to seek out Daive Fear, and then Daive Fear, he's like, oh wow, you're the last living Dwemer. You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working on this. Like, and he manages to not cure him, but like give him his mental faculties back. So he's only like a little brain damaged and like kind of crazy some of the time, but he's still like horribly like bloated and mutated from the corpus. He still has corpus.
Oh.
And he's on like this huge like spider leg like mech rig thing.
Oh man.
Oh man, like that like Marvel villain, that big fat guy with the spider leg Mojo, I think.
Pretty much. Like, and he's got like a horrible like Jabba body because he's like all mutated and shit.
Oh man.
Like, yeah, he's a poor guy. You talk with him, and then you can actually ask him a lot of like cool stuff about, you know, Kagnarag and Red Mountain and all that, blah blah blah. But he gives you the item you need, and then you go back to Daive Fear. The whole reason he sent you down there was just like, so if the cure doesn't work, that's what you're gonna become. Like, I just want you to know.
Yeah.
Hope you're cool with that.
Temper your expectations a bit.
Yeah, he's like, that's the best I've done so far.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's rough.
He's like, and then so he gives you the cure, which in all previous cases killed the patient.
Right. But you're the main character.
The player instead is not cured, but all the negative effects of the disease go away.
Oh.
And you retain all the positive benefits. So now you're functionally immortal, you're immune to disease, you're physically stronger and more hardy. Got all the benefits.
Yeah.
Everything's coming up, possible Neverine.
You level up like in a video game now, it's great.
And yeah, so she...
Wait, so how long has the last Dwemer had Corpus?
A while.
Is that why he's immortal?
I think he's, yeah, I think it's a few... I mean, elves live a long time.
Oh, okay.
A couple hundred years.
Then that adds.
Anyway.
I was wondering how he was able to still be alive.
But yeah, Corpus, yeah, does make you, like, functionally immortal.
Okay.
Age-wise, you can still be killed.
Right. Yeah. Not deathless, but ageless. Yeah.
But also, Daive Fear in later... Even in, like, by the time of Skyrim, he's noted as being 4,000 years old. So Daive Fear has figured some shit out, but because he's a Telvanni mage, they hoard secrets.
Right. So
he's not sharing. But,
I'm sorry, you have to understand my my culture. It's this. I'm quite selfish.
But reasonably, he might have shared it with Yagam Bagarn.
Right.
So you then have to break a character out of jail to help you get the lost prophecies, which you were assigned to get by the wise woman.
Mm.
You do that. You go back, you give her the prophecies. She reads them after like a day, and then she says like, "Oh, now you got to find you have to pass the 7 trials to become the Neverine." You do.
Right.
You're the main character. You do you do the trials.
Yeah.
It's a quick dungeon.
Then the last step is to speak to Vivek,
right,
who gives you instructions on how to defeat Dagother. And you need...
I don't know if I'd take his advice. He explicitly lost to Dagother with 2 other guys on his side.
Yeah, pretty.
But he gives you pretty precise instructions. But you have to recover the tools of Kakarrak. So you have to get it's a gauntlet, a blade, and then a hammer. Wraithguard is the gauntlet, Sunder is the hammer, and then Keening is the blade. You have to get all these tools together, and then only after you have them can you destroy the Heart of Lorkhan. So you get them all together, and then you assault Dagoth like in Red Mountain.
You go scrap with that motherfucker. You're just
and to get him,
time. Yeah,
you have to go around and either more of his ash vampires just have them, like they're keeping them, and then so you basically go around to forts and just murk their asses and take the artifacts.
Right.
And then you can go ask Yagam Bagarn about them. How does this work? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But TLDR is you get all three of those. You go to Red Mountain, and then Dagother is just chilling. He's just like, "Oh, sweet Nerevar! Like you're now the Nerevarine. Like he acknowledges you're the Nerevarine. He's been trying to fuck you up this entire time to prevent the prophecy, but he does his whole like villain speech, and is like basically join me and we'll rule the galaxy as father and son. You know, like, he gives that whole song and dance, and you're just like, no, I'm here to ice your ass. And it's just like, I'm a god, and you're also this is. The heart is in the chamber of he's rebuilding the Numidium, his own version, Akulakan, and he's making his own.
I call it the
god.
RX-78 2 perfect.
Yeah, except like he's substituting a lot of brass for just horrible calcified corpus skin.
Oh man,
and shit like that. It's gross. But you fight him, and then he's invincible basically, like, but you like take him down and then like he just disappears, right? But then his connection to the heart is such that he just comes back, right? And then he's just like invincible, and you have to realize that like, oh, I gotta take care of the heart first. So you run, go to the heart, use the items on it, and he's like, wait, what are you doing? Stop that! And then
Nerevar, I thought we agreed to fight each other.
You banish the heart. It's unclear what happened to it exactly. It disappears though. And now you've severed his connection to it. You can kill him now. Right. So, Red Mountain is also falling apart. Right. So you can either fight him and kill him, or you can just run away, and then like, more than likely he just dies from the rubble and the lava and whatever.
Right. But we all have seen anything, so he definitely lives if you leave him.
You take care of it. You escape Red Mountain. Job's done. Like,
Great job.
You did it. And then Corpus starts to go away on its own, essentially. But now the heart is gone, and unfortunately, the living gods aren't going to be living gods for much longer.
Oh, man. The comeuppance.
They were the living gods.
Yeah, and that's like the other DLCs. Like, you're tasked by Azura to go basically kill the tribunal. Right. Which, I'm not too clear how that plays out.
People who lie and trick their own best friends to achieve godhood powers aren't willing to go quietly when their number's up.
Well, so...
Color me surprised.
Officially, what happens is Almalexia... Like, Sothasil was working on a replacement for the heart. He was trying to build a new Heart of Lorkhan as a substitute.
That would be my first priority, yeah.
But Almalexia goes kind of insane because she can't handle the thought of not being a god anymore. Sothasil's actually pretty chill with it. Right. He's lived, long enough. Right. And she kills him.
Damn.
Probably pretty easy. He seemed pretty easy going.
Inner insanity. Then the Nerevarine goes and kills her. Right. And then you can kill Vivek in the game, but it's officially what happened to Vivek is
he's too cool to die.
Not that clear.
He's much too cool to die. He's fine.
It's generally accepted he achieved Kim and ascended and just fucked off.
Now he's an actual god.
Well,
I buy it.
Apparently, Vivek's ultimate goal was the second stage of Kim, which is called Amaranth.
He wants to become a Super Saiyan 2?
This is what it means to go further beyond.
You become a new godhead. You become a dreamer.
Oh, wow.
His plan is to wake up from the Matrix.
Mm-hmm. And become a Matrix.
Yeah, become his own Matrix.
I want to make my own
blackjack
and hookers. Hell yeah. Yay. Did he do it? We don't know.
Maybe, supposedly. Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I want to believe he did.
At the very least.
I want to believe that queer-ass motherfucker did it.
Yeah, hopefully he did. Vivek's real cool.
Not derogatory. That was meant to be a compliment.
I didn't mention it.
One queer to another.
Vivek's a hermaphrodite. But he
stole the demon's penis. I'll have you know.
Yeah, he's always referred to as a he though. That's why I kept saying he.
Because Vivac has the dual voice thing, right? Where like they have like a voice over a voice, male and female. Do they have that going on?
I think maybe.
That's pretty cool.
His whole thing is duality,
Yeah.
So probably. I can't remember.
I remember. I want to say they have a voice like that, where like, and I remember because I remember it really struck me when I first saw it as a kid.
Yeah, and that's pretty much Morrowind. There's a little bit more to it. I don't want to go into like Solstheim. That's like the Blood Moon expansion. It's fine, I guess. You know, you can become a werewolf.
Werewolves were huge.
Morrowind had werewolves too?
In that expansion, yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that some of the expansions.
Mm-hmm. Then the Tribunal being the other expansion where you kill the members of the Tribunal.
Right.
Then other little things that just little fun stuff, Easter eggs. There's the 2 unique monster merchants. Creeper, who's an imp, and he impossibly is a vendor. He has the second most gold in the game, and he'll buy anything, and he buys it at like market price.
That's awesome.
Then the other one, another secret vendor, he's actually a lot harder to find, is the mud crab merchant.
Wait, what? Is he like a mud crab?
He's a mud crab.
He's not a guy who sells mud crab. He's a mud crab who's a merchant.
He's a mud crab that is a merchant.
How does that work?
How does it work? How much gold's he got on him?
10,000.
Oh man,
He has the
Works
most
pretty well.
He has the most gold in the entire game. Like, he also buys items at full price. He only buys like weapons and something else, and armor, I think. But yeah, he has the most gold.
He's arming mud crabs.
And he's an alcoholic. Like,
That's okay.
that's his dialogue speech.
If you were a fucking mud crab.
Yeah. Because you can like ask him, it's like, how are you? Like, you're a talking mud crab, and he's just like, well, I'm a mud crab, and I'm talking, aren't I?
Damn.
Like, he's like, so
God
I
his
must
ass.
be a talking mud crab, and it's like, okay, cool.
I mean, factually, yes, I suppose that is what's happening.
Pretty cool.
Are you sure you're not a wizard of some kind?
A way
or-
you can find him is through another character they introduced in Morrowind, Maik the Liar, who is...
I wouldn't have believed him either if he said, listen, no, he's got like so much money, but he is a mud crab and an alcoholic.
He's an interesting...
That's why we call him Maid the Lion.
He's an interesting character. He's a Khajiit who you can just find, like, out there.
Right.
And
Lying.
I'm pretty sure he's also a vendor. I'm not too sure about that. But mainly you just ask him about stuff. And then he just tells you things. And then Maik's purpose is he breaks the fourth wall.
Right.
And he is the mouthpiece of the developers.
Right.
So shit that like the community complains about or whatever, they use Maik to just dunk on that.
Right.
Like he says something like, why everyone's always talking about like, oh, they want companions. They want to like be with other people. Maik thinks that would get annoying. Like, I have to listen to them talk all the time. Basically, why isn't there multiplayer? Like, go fuck yourself. It's a single player game. So that sort of thing. And that's Maik's deal. But occasionally Maik says something and he's not lying.
Right.
So you can ask him, like, have you heard any rumors? Like, a mud crab merchant. He's just like, oh yes, Maik has heard of. He refers to himself in the third person only. He's like, Maik has heard of this. He's just like, apparently you can find it on like some island over in this area of the map. And if you go there, like, yeah, there's just a fucking mud crab merchant there.
Oh yeah, he's chilling, hanging out, having a good time.
Getting fucking blackout drunk and selling and buying and selling armor and weapons.
He's arming the mud crabs. There's gonna be a rebellion soon.
And then a couple other little Easter eggs is I thought it was really sweet. There's unique ashes you can find in crypts, and then the names of each one was a fan that died during development.
Aww.
And yeah, they put them in there as like little tributes.
Still dead though.
Yeah, you know, it's a nice little.
I love that.
No,
stuff.
that's
nice little thought.
I take back my haterism because it's like that's right. A piece of you is in this game.
Yeah, no.
If it was an alive character, that'd be way worse because I remember in World of Warcraft they did that. You know what happened to that NPC?
What?
Everyone got on the opposite faction and flew in and killed him.
Oh, that's so brutal.
This was like a cancer kid.
I remember
or
because there's Kaylee Dack, there's the Night Elf Hunter that's in Shatterat. That's one of the
Yeah.
ones. And then there is a Tauren child. I think Kyle is his name in Bloodhoof Village, who's asked you to find his dog. And I know there's at least one more, But yeah, the two that I know are those ones. So I guess
people are
people are slaughtering that.
World of
hunter.
Warcraft people certainly are. At least.
Speaking of World of Warcraft, one of the most savage acts of primal violence I've ever seen on a video game. They were doing a funeral, a eulogy for a person who actually died in real life.
Oh man!
And his guild, I think his family was there.
Right.
And they had an in-game funeral in Winter Spring.
His grandma who doesn't understand video games.
Because Anthony showed me this, and I was like, "This is some straight up despicable shit." So, and it shows the perspective of the
right now. It's very heartwarming
of the funeral, yeah, and it's like sad music, and then it cuts to a bunch of Alliance guys mounted up riding through like a fucking Fellwood, and it's like metal is playing like, and it cuts back to this funeral, people paying their respects. People crying, emote crying. It's a really beautiful... And then the rogues come in. And at first you just see a few, like, Alliance show up. Oh, they're going to pay their respects too? No, they're not. They're not here for that. They're here to slaughter. And then it's all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
the Alliance just
we're here for a funeral, all right. 100 funerals.
Yeah, exactly, dude. They butcher these people. They massacre them. They slaughter them in cold blood.
God damn.
That is one of the most Warcraft things I have ever
They should
heard.
sue those guys.
Dude, it's so depraved. It's so evil. Holy shit, dude. God, yeah, PvP servers are fucking wild, man. They're fucking wild.
Goodness.
It's cold.
But do you still have
one? The last little Easter egg is the Elton brand, which one of the Daedric artifacts that shows up in most of the games is the gold brand you get from, I believe, Boethia. And then in this, one of the developers was a huge fan of the Blue Devils or something, like college team.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that, I don't know, maybe that's a major league, I don't know sports. But, and he made it so that if you do the series of actions, you can transform it into the Elton brand, which that was his last name.
Aww.
And that isn't where I thought this was going.
And it plays like a little message saying, like,
go Jets.
Like, fuck the other rival team, basically.
Yeah! Got his ass!
And it's the most powerful sword in the game.
Obviously.
Not go my team. Fuck those other guys. That's based. Wow.
That's what real team pride is. Hating someone else.
And with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the nature of this content, go and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, and go and follow me on Blue Sky, and you can support us on Patreon. With that, have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.